perfect to take to any potluck, picnic, barbecue, and we almost always have them every Thanksgiving. Rick's beans are delicious and they're a family favorite. We have two 28-ounce cans of country style Bush's baked beans. We add to that very simple ingredients. We add about a half a cup of brown sugar and an entire pound of rendered bacon. I do not drain this. If your bacon is extremely greasy, then I recommend that you drain it, but what you see in the bowl is exactly how it came out of the pan. It didn't render hardly any grease at all.
I gotta say, this is actually the way my mom used to make them.
If you like or prefer, you can sub out the brown sugar for molasses. We have done that in the past. And make sure that if you're going to increase this, then you add a commensurate amount of sweetener, because it really does make a difference. Now these go in a slow cooker and they cook until they're nice and thick. They're not soupy. And that's one of the reasons people love these beans, because they're nice and thick and they're just delicious, and they always come out perfect every single time. I just have a small slow cooker here. You guys have more than one slow cooker? Because I have like 4 of them, different sizes. It just depends on what we're doing. And like I said, these are two 28-ounce cans. They also make a large, I think they make a 60-ounce can and they make a number 10 can. So you use what you think is best for your needs, and then you can adjust the other ingredients. In goes our bacon.
Is that a whole pound?
This is a whole pound of Niece's bacon, and this I just cooked in a skillet. I cut it up first into little pieces and I threw it in a hot skillet, and I just cooked it really slow until it was crispy. And there goes our brown sugar. Into the slow cooker. I'm gonna set it on low. We're gonna let this go for a few hours and then we'll be back and we'll show you what they look like. There you have it. Rick's picnic beans are all done. They've been cooking in the crock pot for about 3 hours. They're beautiful, they're thick, they're steamy, and they're ready to enjoy. These, I kid you not, these are the best leftover. They get better with time, and if you get any leftovers, because I have been known to take over a gallon of these to a church function and not have a spoonful left to bring home with us. Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. We make these for Thanksgiving, we make them for Easter, and we make them in between in smaller batches. But when you know, for holidays and for church events, we go big time. These are super delicious, super easy. They don't break the budget, and everybody enjoys them. So you can see how thick and beautiful they are. You can see the big pieces of bacon that are in there. And Rick wanted me to remember to mention that if you get to a point where it's been in the crock pot for a while, sometimes crock pots cook differently or slow cookers cook differently, and some of them create a lot of condensation. So if you find that your beans are a little bit soupier than you like, just offset the lid a little bit or put a wooden spoon in there and keep it on high for about an hour and let some of that liquid cook off and reduce your beans, and they'll be perfect. So flavorful, nice and smoky, great bacon flavor, great sweetness, and they're just really perfect baked beans. So that's how you make them. We're gonna go over the ingredients, and the first thing you need, of course, is corn. This is 4 cups of frozen corn that I have thawed out. So it's not frozen now, it's just at room temperature. It's 4 cups. And then we're going to build a custard using 4 eggs, a cup of milk, a half a cup of heavy cream, and then we're going to add, to thicken it up, a cup of saltine cracker crumbs, 4 tablespoons of butter that I have melted, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a teaspoon each of onion powder, garlic powder, and black pepper. You can see in the bottom there. All you're really going to do is kind of crack, whisk, and dump. Get my whisk. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put in our cream and our milk. And we're going to put in our butter. This is all going to bake together, and I also have over here, this is just an 8-inch square Pyrex baking dish that I have buttered liberally, and that's what we're going to deposit this into when we're done. Put in our seasonings and our sugar and give that a whisk. You want to make sure you incorporate all that really well. So you don't have great clumps of pepper or salt or onion powder or sugar. You want that all well evenly distributed. We're going to toss in our cracker crumbs and then in with the corn. I can already feel it thickening up a little from those cracker crumbs. Pour this right on in there and get your spatula out and get all that goodness. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take another handful or so. Let's see. I'm going to start with a cup. I think that's probably about what I have in here. About 3/4 of a cup. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle this on the top with my fingers because it's easy that way. You don't have to add any butter to these cracker crumbs because you've already put some butter in the batter here, and that's going to kind of come up to the top, and it's going to allow these cracker crumbs to become beautiful and brown and toasty. I have my oven preheated to 325 degrees. Okay, this is going to bake for about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to check it, and then when it feels all set, you can take it out and allow it to cool a little while before you serve it. So we'll be back when it's time for it to come out. Okay, our scalloped corn is ready to come out of the oven. And then what you want to do is you're going to want to let this sit for about 10 minutes just to kind of settle down. We're going to go over all of the ingredients, and we're going to show you how to make this delicious cauliflower au gratin. This is a perfect selection for your Thanksgiving table or your holiday meal. So what we're going to start with is 1 head of cauliflower. Now, I already steamed this off. I cut it up. I scrubbed it really good. And then what we're going to do is make a roux. And what you're going to need for that is 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and 2 tablespoons of butter. And then you're going to need 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of cheese. I have 4 cups of sharp cheddar here. We're going to be using 2 cups in the sauce and 2 cups on the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to top this with a crispity, crunchity topping. And that's going to be made up of 2 cups of corn flakes, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese finely grated, and I have about a 1/2 stick of butter. We may or may not use all of that. But I forgot, our bechamel is going to be seasoned with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, cracked black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and a teaspoon each of onion powder and garlic powder. When we have it all finished, we're going to give it a good sprinkling of paprika. And that's it. This is really easy to make. So I'm going to meet you over at the stove, and we're going to build our cheese sauce. All right, we've melted our butter over at the stove here, and then we're going to add our flour. So a roux is equal parts of butter and flour, and we're going to go ahead and get this mixed in here really well because you want that flour to cook for at least 30 seconds so that it gets rid of that raw taste and your dish isn't going to taste like paste. So what we're making here is a bechamel sauce basically, and when we add the cheese, it's going to be a cheese sauce. But you always want to start with a basic white sauce, and when you smell the flour and butter mixture that it starts to become nutty, like now, that's when you can start adding the milk a little bit at a time. You don't want to add it all at once, and you just want to get it in there and mix it, add a little more milk, continue to mix it. It goes fairly quickly and it will start to thicken, but you don't want to leave it and you don't want to stop stirring because you don't want to risk scorching the bottom. All right, we have our white sauce come to a boil. I'm going to turn the heat off, and then I'm going to add all of our seasonings in here and just give it a good stir. I'm going to add half of my cheese, and I'm going to save the other half for the top of the casserole. Now this is nice and thick, the cheese is all melted, and now we're going to go back to the counter and we're going to finish building up our au gratin cauliflower casserole. We have to make the topping. So here I have 2 cups of cornflakes, and I'm just going to put all of it in there because, you know, it's butter, right? Toss this together. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt to this. And I'm going to give it a dash of paprika just because I can. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put in our Parmesan cheese. All right, so there's our topping. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour this cheese sauce over the cauliflower, right? Doesn't that look delicious? Now we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle the rest of our cheese on top. Then just go ahead and take these seasoned cornflakes. Now I'm just gonna hit this with a generous portion of paprika. Now I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. We're gonna bake this for 15 to 20 minutes until it is browned and bubbly. Remember, the cauliflower is already cooked, so really all we're doing is heating it through and getting a nice brown topping. So, we'll be back when it's all done. Our au gratin cauliflower casserole was in the oven for about 20 minutes, and it got brown and bubbly, and I removed it from the oven and allowed it to sit for about 10 minutes. This is fantastic. The cheese baked all the way through. This thing smells amazing. It's creamy, it's cheesy, and it's not too much of either one of those things. The cheese isn't overpowering, it's just a perfect combination. So I hope you'll consider using this on your Thanksgiving or holiday table this year. Today we're going to be making a potato style dinner roll. They're really delicious. They contain mashed potatoes, and I'll get to that in a minute. What I have, I'll show you right here. I made some. This is just potato flakes that I mixed with warm water, and I let them sit until they were fully hydrated. We're gonna get going on our rolls. So we've got a 1.5 cups water, and don't worry about writing down the recipe because I promise you I will have this available on my website. Oh yeah, I need a cup of sugar. I'm gonna put the sugar in before I put the yeast in. Cup of sugar and 5 teaspoons of yeast. We're gonna just give that a little whirl. Just like that. I'm gonna toss in 12 tablespoons of softened butter, and we're gonna do 2 cups of these mashed potatoes. Now remember, this is just potato flakes that are made with the water, nothing else. You don't really want to pack them in the measuring cup when you measure them. That's kind of how you're supposed to do the potatoes. 4 eggs are going to go in here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, and we're going to slowly add up to 9 cups of flour. I'm going to put some flour in there, and then it'll get all mixed up and it'll be great. So let's see. I like to use unbleached flour. If you just use all-purpose flour for this, we'll just start with that and go from there. The beauty of bread dough is it's very forgiving. So you start off maybe a little on the short side, and then you mix and you add until it pulls away from the side of the bowl. Now, I can just tell from looking that there's not enough flour in there. I would say there's probably already 7 cups or so in there. I'm just gonna gently put that lid on the top there. When it pulls away from the side of the bowl, then you know you've had enough flour in there. And now we're gonna knead this for 6 minutes. And make sure you add your salt, please. 2 teaspoons. It'll get mixed in during the kneading process. I'm not too worried about it. All right, off we go. All right, our dough is done kneading, but you can see it's a little bit, it's not sticking to my fingers yet. But to get it out of the bowl more easily, what I'm gonna do is turn it on low, and I'm gonna drizzle just a little bit of oil into the bowl. That's it, like a teaspoon, okay? And let that whirl around for just a second. Now, but when you put the oil in there like that, look at that, it pretty much comes right out. We'll go ahead and just shape it nicely. My bowl has been sprayed with coconut oil spray, so it's already oiled. We'll just set that in there. There's enough oil on there. I'm just gonna cover this with some plastic, and I'm gonna let this rise for about an hour. When it's time to come back and show you what it looks like, we will deflate the dough, and we'll go ahead and shape this into several dozen rolls. Our dough has risen. It is huge. Spray your hands with a little oil before you get in here and deflate your dough. I have a scale here, and what I do like to do is I like to weigh my dough, but I want to make 2-ounce rolls with this, so I'm gonna weigh them out. 2.5 is good. That's not too small, and it's not too big. They don't have to be super precise, but just in the same ballpark. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna continue doing that, but when you get a few, you want to put it down. Now my board is not oiled and it is not floured because you don't want that. You never want to add any additional unprocessed flour back into your yeast dough because that's going to make your dough hard and dry and unappealing. You're going to put your dough ball down on the board and you're going to cup your hand and you're going to adhere gentle pressure and you're going to roll your hand around until it has a nice smooth surface and the bottom has a nice closed seam. And then you're just going to pop it right on your baking sheet. I have a parchment down. And I'm gonna go ahead and form all of these rolls up and I'll be back when my pan is full. Okay, I got my potato rolls all panned up and right now we have approximately 41 because some are 2.5, some are 2.7 ounces, and this is just how it ended up. So I just have 2 pans full. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna give them a little bit of a spray with some vegetable oil spray. This just happens to be coconut oil. And then I'm gonna take a piece of parchment and I'm gonna put it on the top of each pan. And I'm gonna let these rise for about a half an hour before we pop them in the oven. I'll be back when it's time to do that. Our rolls have risen and they're gonna go in the oven now for 15 to 18 minutes. We're gonna check them and then we'll pull them out and let them cool. I'll bring you back when it's time to pull them out. All right, our rolls are ready to come out of the oven. They are golden brown, look at those. Look at those. All right, I'm gonna brush these with butter and then I'll be back and I'll show you what they look like on the inside. Well, there you have it, our beautiful potato rolls, and they're still warm. I mean, they're bordering on hot, but we're gonna take one for you guys just so you can see what they look like so we can finish up the video. I want you to see, look at that. Look at that hot, steamy roll. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at how flaky it is. Oh my goodness, they're beautiful. They have a slight sweetness to them. Almost like if you've ever been to Golden Corral, they have those yeast rolls that they serve and they have a little sweetness to them. These are delicious. You're gonna love them. These are perfect for Thanksgiving, no joke. You are gonna love these.